Hey everyone, I'm here to do a really weird video. I've tried making this one 3 or 4 times, and I've talked about different things each take that I've made. A lot about Anita Sarkeesian, a lot about Gamergate, anti-Gamergate, about Anita Sarkeesian talking at the UN about how harassment needs to stop and Google needs to make it to where if you say negative things about her, they can ban you, filter you. I don't know. I've stopped trying to understand this pretty much. What I want to talk about is if Anita actually talked about video games and played them and live streamed them, like she'd be so awesome probably at it. Like I'm not saying she doesn't play video games, but most of her footage comes from other people and it's fair use, right? It's totally legal what she's doing. Get over it, people. She's coming from a place of academia. She knows her stuff enough. Whether she has actually played the games or whatnot, not important. What I want her to do, though, is I would love it if she just picked up a video game, live streamed it for charity, maybe something towards scholarships for women for getting into the game industry. You know, Penny Arcade has a charity like that where they're more into equality, though. I've had some women get it before. It's for everyone, you know, not just men or women exclusively. But yeah, do something like that. Do it for the Red Cross. Do it towards women's for just women in general. I don't really care. Take all of my man money, give it towards women. It's awesome. But there's so much stuff you could talk about games if you just stuck with one game. And I want to see more female YouTubers playing video games and looking at video games, and not just the new games like Fallout or whatever to get the big hits. But there's so much stuff. Like picking through some of my random games. I mean, of course, people are going to want to talk about Metroid Other M is the worst Metroid ever. It made her a terrible protagonist. Here's why. You can do that. That's an easy thing. But there's so much stuff. Darkstalkers, one of my favorite fighting games. Best known for having a succubus, a tinier succubus, a cat girl, and some other stuff. Talk about that. In the video game Geist, you play as a ghost and you jump into other people's bodies, right? And there's like a girl ghost who kind of like trains you. I never really beat the game. Fun game though. You get to find like a Samus helmet in one of the lockers, and through a large portion of it, your dude is possessing a female body. Although, you know, there's no like, oh man, I'm gonna stop and smell the roses, or in this case, grab some boob or anything. So you can talk about that. I'm fine with a feminist filter for video games. I want to see it. The problem with Anita Sarkeesian, though, is her brand of feminism is all about talking about how things have been dragged down. She doesn't want to talk about propelling things have been propelled upwards, really. She doesn't want to talk about how in the video game Ranma 1/2 JRPG for the Super Famicom, that there are certain areas that take into account what gender your character is. That's kind of cool. Maybe they should make more games about that. More non-hentai games about gender stuff. How about look of how women are treated in Dead Rising, how they're portrayed. You have Jesse, you have Isabella, a lot of cool stuff in this game. Cannot recommend Dead Rising more. Okay, yeah, you're going to talk about Super Mario Bros. 3 and how, you know, she's been kidnapped, Princess Peach. She's really not even kidnapped till the very end, I feel. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe the entire time she's actually in Bowser's Keep and sending letters. I don't know. Maybe he has an awesome postal service there. But Cannon Spike, awesome game for the Dreamcast. What can you talk about feminism? How about the cover art? Okay, so it's named after one of Cammy's moves from Street Fighter, right? But look where Cammy is. She's like way, way, way small. Like, these characters are not proportionate to each other. They're not proportional. But I mean, hey, it's Cammy, it's Can Spike, it's awesome, right? I've never played this game, but besides a few minutes, but I bought it really cheap. Star Trek Voyager, I mean, Janeway, there's something you could talk about there. Okay, sort of Mana, male, female options, different story. So I've noticed that Anita Sarkeesian, like, she doesn't really talk about a lot of the games that... Okay, so let me backtrack. So there are a lot of games with women as the main protagonists, actually, that a lot of people don't know about. For the most part, on the Nintendo era, you could only have so many games per year that could come into the United States as well as Europe, right? So a lot of games didn't come out, or they were doctored, some of them, to have male protagonists, I think, rather. And so, yeah, there's some of those games that just never came to America. And then there's some that are weird that never came to America, like this one's for the Super Famicom. Super VG, which stands for Variable Geo. You fight as a bunch of all-female fighters trying to get a waitress job, I think. It's kind of sexist, but it's a Street Fighter clone with all women. You can talk about this. Is there an all-females in video game trope? I don't know. Why don't you talk about it, Anita? I don't know. Speaking about females in video games, I've gotten down to the last couple of games I want to talk about that are pretty cool, that I would love other people besides me or somebody I know, to talk about them. For example, Summoner, A Goddess Reborn. Now, this is in the Summoner series. It was like 2 games. It's only called Summoner, A Goddess Reborn on the GameCube. On the PlayStation 2, they had Summoner 1 and Summoner 2. This is Summoner 2. Summoner 1 had a male protagonist. Summoner 2 had a female protagonist. And this one you play as a queen. And yeah, she's, I guess, a warrior, as you can tell, a warrior queen. And I got about halfway through here. I gotta finish it one of these days. I actually rebought it a few years back. But someone should talk about that game through a feminist filter, if you will. Give me that perspective. I mean, but two of my very favorite games from the Super Famicom that I love to pieces. Here's a Sailor Moon game. It's a puzzle game, and it's awesome. And I love it so much, I have it in box, which is a little bit more expensive when I was in Japan on vacation a long time ago. And this is another game that I super love. And I would just love for Anita to just tear this thing apart. If she was actually critiquing games, as opposed to critiquing tropes that games happen to have. That we need to stop that. And it's so weird and stupid. But here is Panic in Nakiyoshi World. It has characters like, you guessed it, Sailor Moon in it. As well as 3 other characters from a all-women graphic, from women's comics for girls. That's what I meant to say. But shoujo. Just shoujo. But yeah, it's a really fun game, kind of like Adventure of Lolo style. Talk about this. How about the depiction of women in Final Fantasy? You have Terra from Final Fantasy VI. You have Yuna from Final Fantasy X. How does she change from Final Fantasy X to Final Fantasy X-2? It takes a lot of effort to do this, and you might have to play the games instead of just ripping other people's work, which is totally legal because of fair use, you know? But, hey, talk to me about this game, Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past, and how Zelda gets kidnapped like twice, actually turned into an object. That's how objectified she was, technically. You know, turned into a crystal, as were all the women. In fact, yeah, they were all the maidens who were like the descendants of the sages, right? You could talk a crap ton about this. Just, I don't know. one weird point I want to make out of the very last of this, I swear, the last part of this is the fact that you can't force artists, you can't dictate art. So me dictating this to you is kind of like me doing what you're doing and saying, hey, all you cisgendered white hetero men that make video games, I want you to make games the way I want y'all to make video games. And then the people in Japan are like, what if I get to make my super sexy waitress game, but I don't release it in America? Found a loophole. Found a loophole there. Or, oh, well, what if we just took out the option to have a boob slider in this game? We change a couple of the outfits. We will tailor make our game for the West just so it becomes less offensive. That's pretty much all that's happened. Like, everyone was afraid that they were going to take our games, but all they did was refuse to put them out here. You know? Like, there are games that come out on Xbox 360, or there were, that were sexy, sexist, whatever you want to call them, tailor-made for Japan, for example. Because they were like, please give us money. They never came to America. There are games in Japan for the American-made Xbox 360 that never came to America. Think about that. Ow. But yeah, this is turning into a lot weirder of a rant than I anticipated. But that's what happens when you make 5 or 6 ones and you just confusingly get upset and you're like, you want the UN and the Google to do what? I don't know. So I'm kind of flabbergasted with Anita Sarkeesian right now, but hey, what are your opinions on things in general? Feminism, video games, Anita Sarkeesian, awesome stuff, dead or alive. Let's not talk about that. But yeah, hit me up in the comments below because I have comments turned on, and I will catch y'all later.